Hey guys, so here is my zombie guide video for my zombie necromancer. I've done this build a few times in the past, and this league they added the +1 zombies on the chest, which was really awesome. It gave me an idea to see if I could actually get 8 zombies instead of 7. The first time I did this build, it was with the Baron helmet when it first released. The build was just really strong for all the content. As you can kind of see here in the background, probably the weakest thing is where you get zombies lost in the delve, and that's probably the only weak side to it, but it really wasn't too bad. Zombies could die every now and then, but you normally had at least enough zombies to clear everything just because the zombies have so much damage. But again, with the Baron helm on its release, it had crazy damage, specifically for things like SRS. So getting all that strength, I would go ahead and use SRS a lot of times with it, but the zombies were strong enough to do a considerable amount of single target, though lacking a bit in their AoE, which got fixed in the second iteration of the build. The next part of the build was when they buffed the Necromancer, giving 2 zombies and a lot of the zombie damage, plus the giant AoE to their slam. This pretty much just made zombies amazing for doing the Necromancer, but I went ahead and kind of changed up a little bit of the build, not using SRS the second time around. I tried to use a shield charge thing, getting Fortify, and it felt pretty good. I was able to do Shaper with it. I was able to down Shaper with the first iteration of it with just the 6 zombies, though with the Necromancer buff you could get 7. So when I seen the +1, I was like, okay, I gotta get 8. Now, real quick, if you did go with 7 and went with something like the Abyss Gloves that are for minions, that have 2 sockets, you could just do 7, get some more Abyss Jewels, and the zombies would actually deal a bit more damage single target wise. But I kind of went with the meme, get the 8 zombies, go hard with the zombies, and just kind of mow through the content like that. It would eventually go on to kill Uber Elder, though it did take me 5 attempts, although I think I could get it probably in about 2 attempts this time if I tried to do this again, just because of how the positioning was. The main thing that I had to deal with though for the Uber Elder fight was to get my zombies to live long enough. So as you can see here in the background, they're kind of dying there. This was before I actually got enough resist and regen, leech, and everything for them. You'll see those changes in the skill tree, but the base skill tree and the path of building that I started with wasn't too bad, and as long as you just get the zombies and get it going, this build can pretty much do all the content up to Uber Elder, and then you will have to make a couple of tweaks for Uber Elder. Also just making a couple of tweaks so that you can actually do stuff with like the Syndicate coming in and not just insta-giving you or just insta-giving your zombies. The other parts with this build, leveling was a breeze. Anytime you can use the Baron helmet to level with, it's just easy. All you do is get it at level 28, throw as much strength on as possible, and you're good to go. Zombies are amazing for leveling. The SRS clear things so you get all the XP that you need as you go, so you're never behind. If anything, you're always ahead, and you can kind of just start skipping a lot of content as you please, which I have a video showing just how the bossing went too in leveling highlights video that I did. So if you want to check that out, it's just got just some bosses just getting completely obliterated all the way up to Kitava in Act 10. It was just insane, crazy fun to level, just with how fast everything died. If you like zombies and you like a build that has SRS with them, then this one isn't too bad. You could actually even take this build into hardcore by playing back and playing a lot slower, which you kind of can't do in Delve really, but you can direct your zombies and just kind of have your SRS clear ahead and have your zombies create a wall in front of you. Probably the only mod you would have to look out for then is probably chaining and additional projectiles. that would get pretty rippy, especially if you're next to your zombies. But eventually, like right there in the background, you can see they were surviving the beam, and this was before I got all the extra defense when I went in to try to kill the Uber Elder. The damage on this build was just insane again. Zombies were doing like 200k per slam, well 200k DPS with their slams, and the SRS would add somewhere between 100 and 300,000 DPS. The SRS again are mainly to kind of supplement the clear so that you don't have to worry about a couple of stragglers and have your zombies directed into just clearing the last few things here and there. That's what I didn't like about the shield charge version that I did in my second iteration of this build. But yeah, this is definitely going to be the way I play zombies as of right now. Again, you could take it down to 7 and get more DPS out of the zombies and more DPS overall that way. You could probably even make them survive a little bit more because you're not focused on branching out on the tree as much for just the sheer amount of strength you need. But as you can see in the background, the DPS is just insane as far as getting things down. Again, you have to have your zombies stick on things, which was another problem with doing Uber Elder. But overall, the fight wasn't that bad, especially once I got used to kind of positioning. But the price of the build was actually one of the surprising things when I started looking at it. Other than like the shield that I got for doing Uber Elder and getting the resist I needed on my zombies, the price wasn't too bad. I'd say maybe at most it was probably 2x total. The shield was the most expensive piece, being about 60 to 90 C, somewhere around there. Astromenus is cheap, Baron's cheap, Montragil's is cheap. The chest piece, again I'll go over the items later, but the chest piece was about 18 C plus the rage essences, so that's not that bad to get. Overall I'd say the chest I probably put in about 30 to 50 chaos. Other than that though, it's pretty light when it comes to cost. Cyclopean coil is probably the other most expensive like generic piece of gear. That was I think like 40 chaos, but still overall so far, what is that, less than 200 or just barely over 200 chaos, so that's 1x. So yeah, this build is definitely doable in under 2x. The thing is with that though, that because it uses so many uniques and stuff like the Cyclopean coil, it is not the most friendly league starter build because you need the uniques. Maybe do this as a second build, or if you wanted to league start it, the zombies still will do pretty good for leveling. They won't be the craziest thing without the Baron helmet, but you might be able to get a Baron helmet pretty quick and early in the league, just with whatever strength you can find one with instead of, you know, a high roll. But I think the Baron helmet can drop pretty early anyway, so if you are in a trade league specifically, might not be a bad idea, even if you just wanted to level as a summoner. Maybe looking at one of those. I've not done this build as a league starter, so can't really speak to that, but overall, again, price really cheap, really easy to get going, not too bad when it comes to budget. And with that said, let's go ahead and get into the build, and we'll go ahead and start off with the items here. So here we go. So to start off with the items here, we've got the Montragil's Grasp. 100% more damage is pretty much a must on this. You don't want anything less because you don't want to lose any damage when getting the 50% reduced number of zombies. The main piece of the build right here, the Baron helmet. The +2 on that to socket fire gems or duration gems is not the most important thing, but it will help out your SRS and clear and give them a little bit more damage for single target, where mainly though your zombies are going to be doing the biggest single target. Astromenus, another big part here, because again with the Baron helmet you're trying to get that 1500 strength to get 8 zombies going at a time. Then you have the shield, which in this case you want as much strength as you need to still be over that 1500, and as bonuses, any resist and any life you can get as much as possible. The boots, Alberon's Warpath for that strength, pretty self-explanatory there. Rings, resist to balance out whatever resist you can get, and strength, probably get something that doesn't have the life roll and then craft it on. It'd be a little bit cheaper if you can find it like that. Same thing with this ring, only this one had life and strength and had an open suffix so that I could craft on the resist that I needed. For the chest, kind of same deal, as much life as you can, and if you can get any resist on it, awesome. But mainly I bought the Justicar card, Celestial Justicar, and that gives you an astral plate that's already 6 linked. I used just the 2 blues and hope for the best, and it got me the 3 blues in one go, luckily, so that was nice. But again, as much health, use Rage Essence on it to get the strength, and then craft on the +1 zombie so that you can have the 8 zombies with the 1500 strength. It got a little bit of res with the cold res, but you know, any res you can get, you know, take that. If it gets a lot of armor, cool. Also, when doing the Justicar card, I qualityed it up to 30% with a perfect fossil, and then went ahead and started Rage Essence crafting it after that. Pretty much the same deal with the Cyclopean Coil here. You want 15% increased attributes, that's kind of a must. Other than that, get as much health as you can on it. I bought a corrupted one that had a decent set of rolls for the life, but it also had the 15%. The main thing here though, you get the freeze immunity from your dex being higher than your int, and then you just get the ignite immunity from your strength being higher than dex. That's kind of a little bonus, not a big deal there. Meganord's Vice, pretty much for the strength to help you get over that. Also, it gives you a nice little bit of health regen, so it's a pretty cool little item. For Flask, main thing that kind of felt better defensive wise, I was trying to run a few different options, but I decided with the Granite to give me that extra bit of block so that I could actually block a few things. I actually felt that when I switched, I think, from a Granite and a Basalt, and then I had Basalt and the Quartz, and then finally the Roomies and the Quartz kind of just felt the best. The Silver Flask gives you a little bit faster casting, more movement speed, so that you can actually get your Summon Raging Spirits out a little bit better. So definitely enjoyed when I replaced, I can't remember what flask it was, but I replaced something with the Silver Flask, and it just made the whole build feel better when I had these 3. Obviously, Quicksilver is pretty much a staple of most builds, and having a Seething, Staunching, Divine Life Flask is pretty much a must. Also, for the items, I've got a weapon swap here with another 100% Montrigules, mainly so that the zombies still have their giant amount of health from it. So they're still tanky, they still have some damage, and I still have a shield that has enough strength to give me 1500 strength. Again, as much life that you can get on it, the better. Maintain as much resistance as you can. As you can see here, when I swap, the fire resistance and stuff kind of dips a little low, but it's not the biggest deal if you're going to be there just for a few seconds while running around. On Uber Elder, I actually had to do this a couple of times so that I could swap in some of the zombies. I had my Ray Zombie because my abilities were full on the front bar, so I went ahead and kind of had this kind of like a back bar set up to where I could summon with Desecrate, swap, summon zombie. So that definitely helped out. But anyway, that's the items. Now let's jump into the gems. Okay, so for sockets, as you can tell here, there's an empty socket. What I was doing there is in the Uber Elder fight, when I was swapping to resummon zombies, I found that I didn't really have Flame Dash on both bars. So I would have Flame Dash pretty much in the same spot, ready to go. So I went ahead and tried to come up with something different here in the boots. Now I will say, As far as mapping, for the most part, the ball lightning with GMP covered a greater area a lot faster than, say, Stormbrand, but as far as boss fights, Stormbrand sticks on, reapplies the curse, and reapplies Elemental Equilibrium much more reliably for a longer period of time. So overall, that's kind of going to be a choice, whether or not you want Stormbrand or Ball Lightning. If it's Ball Lightning, that ends up being a full 4-link with the GMP. So we'll just say here in the boots, either Stormbrand, Elemental Weakness, Curse on hit, Flame Dash, or Ball Lightning, GMP, Elemental Weakness, Curse on hit. In the Sceptre at that point, you could either have the Immortal Call, cast when damage taken, increased duration, or Immortal Call, cast when damage taken, and like I had for most of the build, all the way up until Uber Elder, Flame Dash. In the helmet, pretty much got a Summon Raging Spirits, just level 21. For a little bit faster clear, you can get a 2120 or just a 2020 so that they have movement speed. Connected to that will be melee fizz and minion damage. After that, though, you can do maim for the single target, or you could do melee splash for a little bit more AoE while you're mapping. The maim, though, is really to increase the damage of the zombies, and in the zombies here, 2120 because you want as much life as possible, and just getting the 21 gives them a little bit more damage and life. Minion damage, melee fizz, conk effect, multi-strike, and ruthless. Actually, multi-strike ends up working pretty well. It does stick them in place, so they do have a chance of dying a bit more, but because they have the slam, they'll slam 3 times and then they'll try to do something else. Well, because of how low the cooldown is, because of the ascendancy, because of the 2 threshold jewels, you end up with multi-strike slams, then multi-strike slams. This actually works out in mapping, because they'll slam, and then another zombie will step up a little farther and slam, and it'll cover a wider area, and then you don't have repeated slams from just the zombies getting stuck in one place. And they'll actually cover a wider area, I found out. With the increased area that they did with the ascendancy, which I will talk about this probably again in the tree, but conk effect just really felt good at all parts of mapping. You could probably do AoE if you wanted to, or just anything else that you can slot in for that blue socket. If you did the Varici thing with Syndicate, then you could get maybe some white sockets there and possibly throw in some different things from maim, and if you wanted to change that out in the helmet, or just anything that you can fit in would also work. But I didn't feel like I needed the extra area. Without conk effect, though, the area gets pretty insane just from each of their slams. So I mean, that's up to you there. In the shield here, Vol Haste, Convocation to get your zombies back, Flesh Offering. I found that where switching back and forth, it was fine to have Flesh Offering there. I did have it down here with Clarity and Desecrate. That is Vol Clarity as well. I still kept Vol Clarity, although I kind of think just a 21 Clarity would work. Vol Clarity is kind of a bonus that can work in certain situations, but that's a lot of button presses, so if you want to try that, you can. I don't think I really ended up using it. Maybe on one attempt of the Uber Elder I did, but overall, for the most part, just having Desecrate and then Generosity Hatred by itself. You don't want to connect to anything else that's an aura to the Generosity, so I went ahead and just had those together. The other reason why I didn't have like Generosity, Hatred, and Clarity up here is that when you swap, then when you swap back, you have to put everything on again. I kind of wanted to freely swap between them so that I could resummon zombies and still do things. So I had them in the gloves, and then it just kind of got a little awkward coloring this with the Desecrate with the 2 greens and a blue on the Magnor's Vice. Another skill real quick, you could throw Spirit Offering. It does give the zombies a bit more defense. This way you can not worry as much if they, like say the Shaper, his orbs have pin, and also they get a little bit more defense with the gain 2% of their life as extra maximum energy shield for each corpse consumed. That can be a pretty giant amount of ES based on how much life zombies actually have, but that's just another option. Another thing you could do for the gems is put in your summon raging spirits with the still melee physical minion damage and maim, but you can add, say, a melee splash or a ruthless with them as well, or even some minion speed into the 6-link chest, and just have your raised zombie with minion damage, melee physical, and I think conk effect is the best out of those. If you want easier coloring, maybe throw in ruthless or multi-strike as the 4th. But this way your SRS can help clear a lot better until you, say, get the 21 or the +2 on the helmet. Especially when I got the +2 on the helmet, the clear felt a whole lot better. So that's another option that you can do. But other than that, that's the gems, and let's go ahead and hop into the tree. Okay, so let's go ahead and cover the ascendancy first. The big thing here is you're going zombies, so you and your minions have 1% additional physical damage reduction for each zombie you own. The main thing here is we're going to be halving the number of zombies from 16 to 8, but still 8% physical damage reduction isn't really anything to laugh at, and it does help when you start adding in stuff like roomies for the armor. You can feel the damage reduction when you have all the zombies. Again, the increased area is crazy for their slam. Like, you'll definitely be able to see the difference. It is insane. The caustic cloud, really not a big deal here. If they just happen to die, cool, that's a little bit of extra dot damage that you might get for just no reason. So awesome. Raised zombies slam has the cooldown. This is what gives you the slam, 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 multi-strike, slam, slam, slam. Just over and over again. +2 zombies, that's awesome. We're trying to get as many zombies as possible with mantra ghouls. That's +1 right there. And then, yeah, on the way, you get the minions regen life, the 50% increased convocation cooldown, you get a little bit of damage and life. Again, life is pretty big deal when it comes to zombies, because you kind of don't want them to die. They cost a lot, especially in a 6-link to resummon, so you pretty much want them to live as much as possible. So getting the life on the way, that's actually really nice, and also you get some damage, that's cool. Commander of Darkness is both for you and the zombies. When they're affected by an aura, they get 20% to all res, you get 20% to all res, they get some damage, you get some damage, they get attack speed, so that node is pretty big. They're going to be getting 2 to 3 auras, and you're going to be getting 1 to 2 auras, so you actually get to get around and cast a little bit faster from not only the Vol Haste, but the Clarity. Lastly here, skill effect duration is big for the SRS. As you can see here, I took the Potency of Will, get more duration, which going to Puppet Master, you get the duration. Movement speed for the minions is really nice. Minions have 12% increased attack speed. If you or a minion have killed recently, that's nice for clearing. And when you use a minion skill recently, minions have 30% increased damage. I can't seem to have gotten that to work in POB, or it just didn't seem like it worked. Maybe it's just a calculation that actually just works up front. But I saw that have you used a minion skill recently, and nothing seemed to happen. So I didn't pay attention turning this node on and off. I guess I'll have to do that again. It's pretty much the ascendancy. The other option, though, I will say this real quick, you get increased skill effect duration, minion damage, and then you get the benefit of your sacrifices, but it's 50% reduced, so you get 50% benefit of it. There's a 20% increased skill effect duration, 30% for the minion duration here, so you lose a little bit of duration on the SRS, but you have 20% duration on the Spirit Offering and Flesh Offering. Again, you get those benefits. You don't really worry about the damage for the corpses, and you don't worry about the attack speed either, really. You're just using Flame Dash to get around, so not the biggest node. It just makes you move a little faster, so I went ahead and went with the Puppet Master to give my minions a bit more damage, since I was just using Flame Dash. There's another time when I used this build and I had shield charge to get around. I didn't even have the SRS, but I was shield charging in. I was always in the fight, and just being able to move around, stay back, and position my minions with the SRS just felt better this time around. I think this is how I'm going to play my zombie builds in the future, unless they come out with some new items or something else changes. But as for ascendancy, that's it. Let's go ahead and hop into the rest of the tree. Okay, so this tree was a fun one. It made a few changes by the time the build ended. So the main thing that you're trying to do is get to the 1500 strength. So of course you're going to go for nodes like Path of the Warrior, which I did have at one point. As many bronze as you can fit in it without it getting too silly with the int reduction, which again, you want your dex to be higher. So actually the int reduction wasn't a problem in this build, as it has been with other builds that I do strength stacking, say Brutus Lead Sprinkler. But you want 2 volatile deads so that you get that cooldown recovery speed. You get a nice 30% increased damage for their slams. Pretty much they're always slamming, so that's a good 60% for both of those, and 30% increased damage to minions if you get the max roll just on the top there, and that goes across the board. Now, elemental equilibrium. So you do get your zombies to do some decent elemental damage with the generosity and hatred. Your SRS already do some fire, so that's a nice little node. Another thing though, you're trying to get as many zombies as possible, so you're taking every plus zombie node that's on the tree. So once you get all the zombie nodes on the tree, you're going to have a decent amount of zombies. Here's the other one that I missed. And again, you kind of got to have them with a decent bit of life. Now I didn't take that life node, but eventually I respec the tree a bit and spec'd over here, which that's just damage, but then right here, this is pretty big. 5% to all res, 10% to all res, 1% life recovery. You get a benefit of some life recovery, another 10% life, 0.5% life regen, 10% life, and then 1.5% life regen. So up here, another 1%. I didn't have that node originally in the build, it wasn't planned, but that was another nice node to add. I didn't have this node either planned, but that leech for them ended up being pretty huge. Skill duration for the SRS, as much life as you can get, which is always nice. This helps with some resist. I did have diamond skin at one point before I got the shield that I did get. And let's see, I don't think I went in this direction till later, when I knew that I had the amount of strength that I did and I could go for a few more life nodes. I also had spec'd from here for these 2 strength nodes and went up and stopped here. So these nodes, nothing here was part of it. I also had tireless to reduce the cost while I was using a 6-link SRS to clear with. The +2 helmet definitely helped with that, so you might want to make that switch, but that's another thing that you can do. Let's see. Other than that, some nice life and resist here, but again, you're going for the +2 zombies anyway. Oh, efficient training, try to get 24s if you can. If you can't, then fair enough, 23 or 22, but you don't want to go too low. Again, I'm cutting it pretty close with what gear I have, but that was because I swapped into all this defense so that my zombies would survive Uber Elder. Now, do you need that much defense with your zombies? Not exactly. Some of the Syndicate stuff got a little rippy, and I definitely felt the difference once I spec'd into this much defense. Your zombies have a ton of damage, and I'll go ahead and bring up the Path of Building for a little bit and talk about it. Just to kind of show the damage and kind of show the difference between the tree and what could be swapped out to get the strength a little bit easier without having to go crazy expensive on items like this. So here we go. Quick little section here for the tree, going over the process of leveling as far as passive tree went. Again, this build was so easy to level, but pretty much just branch up here, get the zombies. I didn't really go up here first. I got this health pretty early. You want your threshold jewels in these 2 jewel sockets, and then as you place them in these 2, you place the efficient training in. Come get this zombie cluster for a couple extra zombies for more damage. Again, I didn't spec into this till later, but if you need health, you can go into this area instead of going down and around. But for the most part, just come down and get this for some extra damage with zombies. If you need the extra health, go ahead and you can take pretty much that entire wheel. And then pretty much just branch out from there and get everything else as needed. I didn't really get the duration till way later in the build, so not the biggest deal there. But again, this build was so easy to level. In my highlights video, it was pretty simple. Just kind of get what you need as you go. Mainly just get what life you need as you go. Other than that, just grab the zombies when you're close to them, and it's a pretty easy way to go. So yeah, pretty simple tree as far as leveling goes, even though it's so branchy. Just kind of get what health you need. But anyway. Okay, so this was my original planned out tree. I changed a few things, of course, by the end of it, but just in general I found out a few things that I didn't need in this tree, and I'll go ahead and kind of talk about those changes. So I didn't really need this mana cost change, or mana cost reduction, so I changed that, or this mana cost reduction. This one, with the SRS and the 6th link, I still felt like I needed, but I definitely needed the leech and the max life, so I'll go ahead and put those in. That would actually bring me to level 91. This ended up being a level 92 build, so I'll change these as well, because without the SRS and a 6th link, didn't really need the cost reduction again. Let's see. I think that's mainly the main things. Eventually I got enough resist that I could spec out of that, but I'll go over those changes here in a second. So that brings it to level 91. I'll go ahead and just leave it level 92. And I'll have to kind of compare the changes here in a second. But anyway, the main thing here, looking at the damage. So you have 8 zombies. Over here in the 6th link version, it is showing 220,000, let's just say 200k per zombie doing their slams. That is about 1.6 million. But you can't really just take that outright, because sometimes your zombies aren't hitting, sometimes they're hitting in the wrong area, you've moved them, and they're, enemy teleports, and they've already started slamming, so they're doing nothing. So roughly, let's say 1 million to 1.4 million probably, so 1.2 million consistent, I guess, wouldn't be a bad number to go on. We'll go ahead and bump it up to the 4 link, which shows 129, let's just say 130k. So again, you're looking at just over 1 million right there. So if you just wanted to say 900k in just a 4 link on the helmet. Now to just kind of look at the SRS, that is in the +2 because it's got the +4 there. So we're looking at probably a good 10 on average, so you could say about 190k. That's not too bad. That's a pretty good single target. Again, they're mainly for clearing, so each one of them doing about 19,000 is pretty nice. In the 6th link, you pretty much get up to 30k, and that's a little bit better. Again, with about 10 of them, you get about 300,000. They're pretty consistent if you want to count that as a single target. So going back to the 4 link zombies, you're looking at just over 1 million, probably about 1.2. Whereas the 6 link zombies by themselves, you could estimate that they'd be about 1.2 just constantly, maybe even 1.4 constantly. Other than that, that's pretty much yeah, that's pretty much the gist of as far as damage goes. What changes I did though, I'll go ahead and kind of go through that. So took this entire wheel right here. Whoops, did not expect it to do that. I actually think I got rid of the strength. Yeah, I got rid of that strength node. Added the life, of course. Found out I definitely needed that. And now that it's connected here, I got rid of these 2 points. And I got rid of these 2 points. And then this. And that shows 92. Now, of course, right here you're seeing a little bit lower. I estimated this with different gear. But as you can tell, at that point, you might need to wait before getting all of these, or maybe have a couple of these instead for a while and just like put 2 points there until you get a good enough item to where you can switch. Again, I did everything up until Uber Elder without using this much defense for my zombies. Up until then, I had my strength here, I had this strength, and I didn't have any of this connection right here. So I didn't have any of those nodes doing the rest of the content. So not necessary to do most things, but it will make the Syndicate, when they're like an OP with crazy mod like tier 16 map, feel a little bit less crazy. Again, they'll try to stick on you, so get ready to use your convocation in time. But overall, as you can tell, this build has a ton of damage. As far as the Uber Elder fight goes, which I'll be showing here at the end, it was mainly positioning the zombies, just trying to get in the groove of moving around and not having my zombies die. It was a bit different than dodging normally for my other builds that I've done, so it did take a little bit getting used to. It took, what was it, 5 attempts to get it down. But now that I kind of am used to it with the zombies, I think I could probably do it probably in a couple attempts if I tried it again with this build. Right, here's the clip. Thanks for watching, guys. I should be throwing up a forum guide for this build at some point. I'm trying to get one for all of my guides and at least be decently thorough or just somewhat okay. But if you do have any questions, leave a comment down below. And again, thanks for watching. Here's the clip. Peace. Okay, he's up here. Oop. Whoa, 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 whoa. Damn it. I thought I had... Thought he was going to beam. Okay.
I need more mana.
Oh, cool. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Falls. Falls. Oof. No, don't hit me. That's rude. No! Damn it. Okay. I'll get my zombies back this way. Propagator's down. Only one has been in the corner.
When I'm ready, I'll
Oop.
rush before.
half portals. We're at halfway through the fight. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Nah! Shit. Okay. Here we go. We're in the end game now, boys. Here we go. Yeah. Three portals. Last bit. I don't think there's any propagators. Beam. He's doing the suck. Am I out of the way? I think I'm out of the way. Where you at, Shaper? Damn it. Okay, he's so close. He's so close. Here we go. I gotta get in there, not let the zombies die. Take out Shaper. At the very least. There is so much shit on the ground in there. Here we go. Right on the Shaper, right on the Shaper, right on the Shaper, right on the Shaper. Oh, I get out of the suck. Okay, Shaper's down. Come on, get him! Yeah! Boom! Zombie build! That's it. We got it. Uber Elder down. Zombies. It has been done. Prismatic Jewel. Only with the zombies. Another staff.